Greetings nerdy list aficionados and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. You all wanted more She-Hulk. You need more savage She-Hulk, more sensational She-Hulk, more adjectiveless She-Hulk. There's more to know, so we're back. I'm Sasha. Amanda and I swapped vids, not really for a reason, we just do that sometimes. These are the top 10 scary She-Hulk facts you need to know, part 2. Let's get started. Number 10. The 90s movie. Starting off with something fun. There were many a cancelled 90s project and even earlier actually, and each one is pretty fantastic in an awful kind of way. Though some of them we would have needed. Nicolas Cage Superman. They've actually been trying to adapt the She-Hulk for years since her origin in 1980. There's been interest, and in the 90s we got close. This was after 2 failed TV projects. There was hopes for this movie. Larry Cohen was set to direct. You may know him from Cellular, Captivity, Phone Booth, The Stuff. 10 months after he was announced, Brigitte Nielsen was set to be She-Hulk. We got to the set photo stage and everything, but it never happened. 90s She-Hulk, I feel like that would have been a mess, which makes me want it more. Number 9. Supporting Tony during Civil War. Like I mentioned, the superhero couples you won't believe exist, Jennifer Walters and Tony Stark have a good relationship, and she ended up supporting him during Civil War, the first one, Civil War 1, which was interesting. So Civil War boiled down to pro-superhero registration, Tony, and anti-superhero registration, Steve. Sometimes going over who sided with who and why could get real convoluted. I mean, yes, Jennifer is a lawyer, but at the same time her cousin is the Hulk, and she's always, or well used to be, supportive of him. So her supporting Tony despite his secret prisons with Reed was interesting, and we needed conflict. It can't just be Tony and Steve punching each other. Still, the pro-registration side was very much presented as wrong, and hence so were the people who supported it. There were claims this argument was nuanced, which it was, but it wasn't presented that way. Number 8. Competing with Wonder Woman. So Marvel Comics, has long had a bit of a chip on their shoulder that they don't have a female heroine exactly comparable to Wonder Woman. And for me, that's not a dig. Both companies have some amazing female characters, but Wonder Woman is very unique. For a time, there was hope that She-Hulk could be their Wonder Woman. Writer Peter David expressed as much, stating, "She-Hulk has the potential to be our Wonder Woman, a powerful female with a strong moral center and a determination to do what's right. She's also a unique combination of brains and brawn. The ideal She-Hulk story is one that plays on both aspects of her makeup, the intelligence combined with her strength." Quote done. However, there's a little hitch in her origin that bothers modern Marvel, and in their minds keeps She-Hulk from achieving this status, which they appear to currently be trying to assign to Captain Marvel Carol Danvers, and it may result in some changes to She-Hulk's origin in the MCU, but more on that later. Number 7. Breaking the fourth wall. So She-Hulk used to break the fourth wall. In fact, she's notable for being one of the first Marvel characters to do so, some say the first. She had meta-ness in her character and at times appeared to be aware that she was a comic book character and would most frequently make jokes about the comics code, which she was frequently accused of violating. This would add to the humor of her character, though she would never approach what Deadpool would later approach, years later. He wasn't like that when he was first introduced. Number 6. She's beaten SENTRY. So She-Hulk is quite the powerhouse, which by the way is now Franklin Richards' superhero name. Fun fact. She-Hulk would accomplish this during Dark Reign and the 4-part series All New Savage She-Hulk. She ends up being enraged after SENTRY dismisses her in a fight, so she pummels him to the ground. This is quite impressive given the overpowered status that he occupies in the Marvel Universe. So for her to be able to do that, be afraid. Or perhaps question the power levels of the situation. Is this a Harley taking out Superman and the Flash situation? At separate times, not at the same time. Share your thoughts. I enjoy hearing from you. I really do. Number 5. Acupressure. So She-Hulk has a host of skills, because she isn't as powerful as the Hulk all the time, depends what canon we're working on. It's a bit of a trade-off. She has more control than Bruce, usually, but because of this she has learned other skills, such as hand-to-hand combat. She was trained by Captain America and also Gamora. She also has an extensive knowledge of acupressure points, which in comic book terms means you have about 20 extra points to approaching God tier. She would use this on Abomination, a character who was named as such because of the fact that Stan Lee noticed that no other character had that name. Deep. But She-Hulk is called She-Hulk, so still, acupressure is yet another weapon in She-Hulk's mighty arsenal. Number 4. Tearing Vision in half. So Amanda mentioned this in part 1, but let's get specific about how this happened. I mean, yes, Vision is a synthezoid, but it's still dramatic. Nobody likes getting torn in half. This occurred during the sensational She-Hulk run. So She-Hulk has been on many teams, and that includes the Avengers. After returning to that team, she would spend time with her fellow Avengers, such as Jack of Hearts, and she would just kind of passively absorb radiation off of him. This would over time lead to her being unable to control her changes or herself, and this would lead to her tearing Vision in half. Hulk tear, Hulk rip. It turned out that this wasn't Jack of Hearts' fault at all, but the Scarlet Witch and her abilities back when she was still a mutant. I will accept no substitutes. That retcon made my heart sad. But I digress. Wanda and Vision have a complicated relationship that is actually very far from romantic when you break it down. I don't know. I've never subtly influenced reality to have my husband torn in half. That's all I'm saying. Number 3. WYATT WINGFOOT. We're actually going to talk about the abuses She-Hulk suffered here, but I wanted to name the number after WYATT because not only does he support her, but he doesn't get talked about enough. Except when he's trying to usurp the position of best friend to Johnny Storm from Spider-Man. Stop it. So She-Hulk met WYATT while she was on the Fantastic Four, during the period where the Thing had left, and he was there for her when some scuzzy things happened, such as a paparazzo taking her picture while she was sunbathing topless, and the only reason it didn't really fully get out there was because an editor color corrected her skin. She was later forced to strip naked by corrupt S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, who then medically examined her to see if she could be left unsupervised or have to be followed around like her cousin, but this was really so that they could get spank material. Jen hadn't really encountered things like this before, so it freaked her out and obviously made her feel unsafe. Wyatt was there to help her through that, because Wyatt's a dependable, sort of genuine nice guy, not a fake nice guy, except when he's trying to push out Peter. Let Peter have one friend who's not evil. He's earned it. These incidents are often referenced when we come to the digital era, and Jen calling out Bruce, her cousin the Hulk, for being jealous of her. Now Bruce and Jen have different experiences, but when you force me to compare the litany of horrors committed against her and him, she doesn't come out looking great in my opinion for calling him out for being jealous. Yeah, he might not know the whole story, fair enough, and be having a bit of the grass is greener, but Hulk got shot into space because he was such a problem. When he got there, he got to see the new people who eventually embraced him die. He was cut into pieces and kept in jars to see how far his rejuvenation could extend. For years he lived on the street, hunted by a special task force. He now can never die. He's been feared by friends and foes alike. The amount of times he's been hated in canon far outweighs the times he's been loved. Oh yeah, and if he gets too smart, he risks going full Maestro. In Elseworld stories, it's been established he'll be the last creature alive on the Earth. So yeah, I can see from his perspective being jealous of pretty much anybody else, even when bad things happen to them. I mean, would Jen want to be Bruce? And if so, why? Like that reporter who wants to be the Hulk and the Immortal Hulk? Like, girl, have you read all the Hulk? You should want to be someone with a good life. Like, I don't know, someone not in the Marvel Universe? Maybe Doom? Being Doom could be okay. Share your thoughts. I'm curious. Do you feel Jen was right to call out Bruce for being jealous of her? If so, why? I want to know. Because there's real world issue context and then there's Marvel canon context, and they can cause different responses. Number 2, fighting the Comics Code Authority. Now She-Hulk is known in many circles for being hot, sexy, big and green. She can bench press you and look hot doing it. I want to be bench pressed by the She-Hulk. But nowadays, this status has a bit of a complex relationship with fans. However, back in the day, it was seen by some as more of a sign of empowerment, because She-Hulk was fighting the Comics Code Authority. Established in 1954 as a result of Senate hearings following mass hysteria surrounding comic books and the link to juvenile delinquency, an unfounded link, just a hypothetical link, this was further exacerbated by Frederick Wertham's Seduction of the Innocent, which on top of policing violence in comics was quite critical of sexuality. The code was created so the industry could self-regulate or face government intervention. They chose self-regulation. This would create a panic around the presentation of women. For years there was a no cleavage or not too much skin unless they're evil, all kinds of subtle rules about how women could and couldn't be presented. One of the ways comic creators would fight back would be to reveal more of the woman. So her ripped costumes were actually a big FU to the comics code. Her naked cover, aside from being based off an extremely popular photo shoot of the time, was again an FU. You can't police female sexuality. Now for some this loses its punchline because it was largely pushed forward by men, but for others this was a big moment. She-Hulk has had a long history of being used to further ideas outside of her character itself, and that brings us to number 1. Number 1, changing her origin controversy. Disney Plus has been threatening a change in origin for the She-Hulk. Now whether they do or don't is less interesting than the why behind it. The MCU has changed many origins to suit itself in its canon, so if it did, it wouldn't be unprecedented. However, it is the why some people feel it should be changed that is fascinating. The She-Hulk originally gets her powers after being shot by some criminals that were involved in a case she was prosecuting. Jen is a criminal lawyer. To save her life, her cousin Bruce Banner gives her a blood transfusion. The gamma in his blood causes her to adopt Hulk-like characteristics, and she transforms and decides to embrace this and becomes the She-Hulk. Some feel that the fact that she gets her powers from a man is sexist and makes her less of a character, and so she doesn't stand on her own 2 feet, or at least does so less than other characters. While others feel She-Hulk is far more than her origin and it doesn't lessen her anyways, as she made the choice to be a hero. She could have done nothing, become a villain or hidden, but as established she was a lawyer and she wanted justice, so she was already doing things to make the world a better place, so her becoming a hero after an incident like this made sense. Others feel everybody is just far too focused on origin stories, just throw us in head first, open the show with her tearing Vision in half. Do you think She-Hulk's origin takes away her agency? Would it be better if she had gotten a blood transfusion from a woman, or just not at all, she was researching Hulk blood? Or would the same argument apply, that she's less of a hero because she's getting her powers from someone else? Or is she a legacy character? I mean, if we can have like 6 Flashes and Dick, Jason, Tim, Steph, Damian, Kira if you stretch, Robins, why not She-Hulk? And the other Hulks now exist. Just side note, also tons of characters have weak origins and turned out fine. Even the Hulk's is just okay. It's iconic, but I survived a radioactive explosion. It's not exactly my parents are dead. So much to talk about. Leave your feelings down below. I love the She-Hulk and I can't wait for the show. I want green She-Hulk in court. Give me that. It's what I want. Can you imagine if it was just a courtroom drama? People would flip tables. I'm Sasha. Thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more nerdy lists. Hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.